The Raptors go into Utah and hang with the best team in the NBA, but eventually fall to the Jazz after another tough fourth quarter offensively. Final score 106-102. Raps record now 26-38 on the season. Hello, everyone, and welcome inside Raptors Night Cap. Randy Urban alongside Sherman Hamilton, Paul Jones, and Leo Rautins. Guys, this was a must-win game for the Raps. I look at it that way, but Utah also played like it was pivotal for them, even though, they're tied for first in the West. Unfortunately, the Raps' offensive well went dry once again. Sherm, just assess that fourth quarter.
Well, again, we're seeing them not be able to score the ball with consistency, only 13 points in that fourth quarter. And, you credit Utah because their defense got better as the Raptors offense started to fail them. So, this is a Utah team that's very good on the second game of a back-to-back. So it's no surprise that they were able to compete at a high level. And I just thought that the Raptors, having significant players out of the lineup hurts the Raptors more than having significant players out of the lineup hurts the Utah Jazz. And you could see it. They needed some punch off the bench. They needed some help. They needed someone to provide some spark for them. They didn't have two key guys in Chris Boucher and Gary Trent Jr. No excuses being made, but the reality is they couldn't manufacture offense in that fourth quarter with any consistency. So they need other players on the floor. It was just another case of them running into that offensive drought where they couldn't figure things out. And Utah only had 21 points in the fourth quarter. So it's not like they blew them away offensively. They just couldn't manufacture any consistent looks at the basket.
Yeah, Leo, you mentioned you can't fault the effort. You really couldn't. The Raptors were they weren't trying to shoot that poorly in the fourth quarter. And I feel like they just missed some chippies. And, I thought the defense overall was pretty good, as Sherm mentioned. What did you see?
Well, like Sherm said, hey, look, the reality is this. Jordan Clarkson outscored the Raptors bench by himself.
Yeah.
Okay. So one guy from Utah and as the bench had 33 points and the Raptors 13. So remember, where does that take its toll? It takes its toll during the whole body of the game. You're not getting into production. So Nick Nurse has got to find a way to keep the starters rotating in, because as soon as you go to that bench, you're not getting production. You can't risk getting out of the game. When they dig a hole, it's a problem. By the time you get to the midway through the fourth quarter, your legs are going, right? Now all of a sudden, and this is where the Raptors get in a problem. And it comes down to, part of it's mental toughness, but you start getting tired. You start turning the ball over a little bit. You start going one-on-one instead of making the extra pass. But that's all a byproduct of not getting enough help and being tired. And the effort was great. These guys came out, they played their tails off. They gave themselves a chance to win when maybe you think they should even have a chance. Because, like I said, you take, as well as Chris Boucher was playing for this team all season, to all of a sudden take him out of the picture. Gary Trent comes to the Raptors and is playing great basketball. Kyle Lowry not available. You're playing a team, first place in the West. So, it's very difficult. So you got to commend the effort. They gave themselves a chance, came up a little bit short.
Jonesy, your take on it. And, I guess it's a missed opportunity though, when it comes down to it, because Washington lost, Chicago lost.
We're all scoreboard watching, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And to kind of punctuate what Leo and Sherm said, I thought they did their best to try and manufacture some offense, and they did have some easy shots that didn't go down. And that's the nature of the league sometimes, make or miss. I can think of guys getting good looks. I can think of Birch with a couple of easy floaters that he's made all game in the lane. They didn't go down. Utah is picking up the D a little bit and making them work harder. They move the ball, they get shots, and they can't knock them down. And I will say this, to the guy's point about the effort. Utah is a team that has a system, and then within that system, there's some creativity. And the creativity within that system that Utah system was missing this game with Mitchell and Connolly out. And it was as if the Raptors knew what was coming. They were able to blow stuff up. They forced Utah into 21 turnovers tonight and scored 29 points. So the effort was there, and the execution of the game plan was there. And I think it was there for the most part, even shorthanded on offense. And they had shots that they normally make, and they couldn't get them down in the fourth quarter.
Sure. And one of the positives, though, I saw was from Fred VanVleet. Obviously, a bounce back game from him, and you can just see he's grinding it out there right now. You know, he's a little bit hurt. He's playing a lot of minutes, and he's trying to get all these new guys acclimated, and still trying to polish his own game as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty big balancing act, but Fred has been so good all season long in these type of situations, coming through for his team. You know, he did have 30 points, but he had 21 of those 30 in the first half. And he had this bounce and this energy to his game early. And it was really refreshing to see for Fred. He's been through so much in terms of, you know, being injured, COVID, all the things that he's gone through. It was good to see him come out with that kind of energy. But you could see as the game went on, the tank was getting a bit more empty, and he just didn't have the firepower to do what he wanted to do. But I always look at Fred, and I'm always impressed at how he stays in the fight. He doesn't have to have all of his tools at his disposal, but whatever he has, he's going to throw them at the opposing team. And that to me is just leadership on another level. When he doesn't have certain things, he finds a way to be a part of potentially winning games. And his leadership is invaluable in games like this. Unfortunately, the Raptors weren't able to get over the hump, but it wasn't because of a lack of effort on the team or Fred's part at all.
Before we get into some of the other positive performances, Leo, just let's go back to Utah for a second. What do you make of this team heading, into the stretch run here? The last, 8 or 9 games for them, we're tied now at the top spot in the West by Phoenix after a loss to them. And Mitchell's out. They rested Connolly. Where do you see them sort of as the season winds down?
That's a great question. Obviously, a lot depends on Donovan Mitchell being healthy and Mike Conley being healthy. Those two guys are critical to the success for this team. I still don't know if they're ready to take that next step. The LeBron, and we don't know what LeBron's situation is with the Lakers and how his health's all going to play out. But if everybody's healthy and everybody's at full strength, I don't know if they're ready to take that next step yet. But they're I don't care, regardless of that, they're still a tough out for anybody just because of the way they shoot the three. They play so well at home. And again, Donovan Mitchell on a given night can drop 50, as we saw in the playoffs last year.
Jonesy, do you think this is a legit number 1 seed that can take it?
Well, to Leo's point, some teams are built for the regular season. Some teams are built for the playoffs. I don't know if this team is built for the playoffs. They've got some pieces. I don't know if they have enough experience, and those shortcomings together could spell what takes you out come playoff time. They will surely be hurting after the way they went out last year, and I think Quinn Snyder's used that to help motivate them and catapult them into the position where they are in the regular season. But playoffs are a different story. Yeah, like I said, they're a team with a system. You scout their stuff. They've got some creativity, but it's about enough guys to make plays. And I'm not sure that they have that or the experience going forward. But you know what? Let's see.
Sherman, you can touch on that as well. But I also want to ask, let's look forward for the future for the Raptors. They're suffering some tough losses here. They're coming up short in a lot of these games, but you can see the future is bright. Like, there's a lot to be excited about right now.
Oh, absolutely. When you talk about players like OG Anunoby, the steps that he's taking, Malachi Flynn is just doing a great job at really showing us the kind of things that we might have to come to expect in the future. And he's got a toughness about him. Khem Birch has been very, very good since he's come to the Raptors. And even though he's not playing, Gary Trent Jr. has showed a lot of potential in terms of what he can do. So, yeah, in a big picture sense, there's a lot to really look forward to from these young guys for the Raptors. Unfortunately, there's more games remaining in this season, so we got to kind of focus on that. But the positives are overwhelmingly better than the negatives in this situation, even though this season isn't going the way they want it to go. But I've been very impressed by quite a few players who have done a great job in terms of really establishing that they have a high ceiling and the future is bright for them.
Leo, was there somebody that stood out to you, like a Birch or, one of the young guys that kind of caught your eye with something that they did?
Obviously, Khem Birch. I mean, he just continues to impress, right? I mean, he almost had a double-double at halftime.
Mhm.
What's jumping out at me is his passing.
Yeah.
Well, and two things. The passing, I mean, when he kicks it out of the post, it's coming right to you. You don't have to move and adjust. It's coming right to you. And he had that one on the offensive rebound. He just tapped it right out to OG for a three. He knew where OG was when he's going for that offensive rebound. One motion, boom, gone out there. That's pretty impressive. And then you heard Nick Nurse talk to him about, hey, Nick Nurse says, if you can get the rebound and go, for anybody, right, you're going to be a faster, better transition team as opposed to stopping, looking, outletting, right? So he, has a conversation with Khem Birch. What do we see in the first time he has a conversation with him? 2-3 times, Khem Birch does a good job of getting the ball out and going. Well, if I'm a coach, I'm going, okay, this guy shows up here, fits in effortlessly defensively, gives the more he plays and the more freedom he has, the better he's playing offensively. And I give him a suggestion, and he shows me he can do it right away. Come on, if you're a coach, you got to be loving that.
Yeah, Jonesy, 40 seconds to go in the show. Just a little bit more on Khem Birch. I thought his court awareness, his IQ, everything just stands out here on a nightly basis.
He made it very uncomfortable for Rudy Gobert tonight.
Yeah.
Even with his speed running the floor, Rudy doesn't do good changing ends. I mean, when you can get Rudy moving and out of the paint where he's not doing his thing as a shot blocker, I thought Khem did a great job. And people talk about the Raptors re-signing him. He's a free agent, so he's also auditioning for other people as well. If Toronto doesn't, come through with the money, and I mean, we don't know what the salary cap situation's like. You can bet other teams are looking, saying, we might be able to use this guy as well.
Oh yeah, great stuff as always, guys. Got to stop you there. Next up for the Raptors tomorrow night, same time, 10 p.m. Eastern. This time against LeBron and the Lakers. We'll see you then.
Thanks for watching. You can click to watch our last episode or to subscribe to the Toronto Raptors YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode.